new students will slide into my DMs because they're like, I'm on with an agent and I don't know what to do. It's a VA loan. And so I'll help them get unstuck.
All right. Hello, friends. Welcome back to Your Money, Your Rules, the podcast where real people share real strategies to build real legacies. Now, I'm your host, Teresa Villaruz, founder of the Thrive Movement, where we believe that money should do more than build lifestyles. It should fund freedom, fuel purpose, and create generational change. And today's guest is living proof of that mission. She's a veteran. She's a real estate investor. She's a community builder. And she just happened to close her first creative finance deal on her way to Mount Everest Base Camp. Now, today, I'm honored to introduce you Rachel Davis, the powerhouse behind Anchor Point Developments. And she's leading a mission to make Charlotte, North Carolina, the national case study for how investors, nonprofits, and local governments can work together to end veteran homelessness. And if that doesn't give you goosebumps, please go ahead and check your pulse. Rachel, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for bringing me, Teresa. I'm excited to be here.
We are so excited to have you here. Now, I kind of gave the audience a little bit of an intro about your Mount Everest, but would you mind just go ahead and expanding on that?
Of course. So it's important for me, if I'm going to talk about my Mount Everest, to talk about my time when I was still a W-2. I was a paratrooper for 4 years in the 82nd Airborne Division, and then I transitioned and became a special operations functionality in what's called psychological operations, which you can think of that as like marketing, but for foreign audiences. So I wasn't like walking around with a space hat or something, like listening to your phone calls. But when I left the military, though, I really got niched into the veteran population. I worked as a director of supply chain for a company that worked with shoe companies and clothing companies to design military gear that fit regulations. I did that for about a year. I worked in military staffing, where I worked with Fortune 100 companies to learn how to market hire from the 220,000 service members that get out of the military every year. And then I worked at a veteran nonprofit in Charlotte, where I started learning just how important affordable housing is specifically in my city. It was the number one requested service from Veterans Bridge Home. And I started realizing like the nonprofit couldn't really by itself start fixing that problem. It was relying on investors and relying on local government. And kind of like what Ria said in the previous podcast, I've always felt like I wasn't wearing the right clothing when I worked in a W-2. That for me was I'm going to fix veteran homelessness in Charlotte. And I started doing things like going to what's called the Point in Time. So every major city in the United States for about 3 days in January does a census on homeless people in your city. So we'll go out, it's usually local government, nonprofits, and we go into the camps. And one of the questions we ask is, are you a veteran? And my Everest is so that when anybody in the Charlotte Point in Time says yes, that my husband and I can provide them with transitional housing.
Oh man, that is amazing. Now, I'm from a military family. Both my late stepdad and my younger brother are Marine vets. So thank you so much for all that you guys are doing and for your service as well.
Of course, you were worth it. That's what I tell everyone.
Thank you. Now, we've kind of talked about, you getting your first creative deal on your way to Everest Base Camp. Can you explain or kind of give us a little bit more story behind that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I joined Sub 2 in December of 2024, and I had kind of a hard time connecting with other community members. I'd met a couple of Owners Club members and was really impressed with everyone I met. But I was already planning on going to Everest with my father in March of this current year. My dad's also a veteran, so he was 67 when we got to base camp together, which is incredible. And basically before I went, I was grinding and I found a local Sub 2 community I'm sorry, I shouldn't say Sub 2 community. I found someone here in my city that was selling homes through Sub 2, but wasn't a part of our community. They'd only done YouTube University. And I was calling their leads. I was like, well, this is fine, right? I'm still doing the thing that I love. I'm not working for someone. I'm working with people. And we closed that deal when I was at Everest Base Camp. I did not have flushing water, but I had Wi-Fi at base camp, which was hilarious. And my poor father is like, why aren't you just enjoying this moment? I'm like, because Dad, this is a big deal. I just did the thing creatively. Like, you have no idea. But unfortunately, when I got home, they wanted to hit me with a non-compete. And it was right before Squad Up, and my husband went, and I just said, you know what? Like, this is not, I didn't become an entrepreneur to be in a non-compete. I want to work and grow with other people. And so I doubled down in this, and it's really paid off in the last few months.
Man, what a funny coincidence. You're working on your Mount Everest while at Everest Base Camp. That is amazing.
Hilarious. I told my husband, I was like, I couldn't have created a marketing series better than that. I actually did. I know it's still on topic, but I wrote a book about it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So my book is currently in formatting with my publicist, and it should be out right before we get to Monterey. But it's basically what that 11 days looked like, how my father and I kind of got to that position. So we wore the same uniform for a very long time, but we walked different paths. And so the story of how my father and I kind of got to a point where we could even do that kind of a trip together was one that I thought people could probably relate to.
Yeah. Oh, man. What a dream, right? Yeah. That's amazing. Now, going back to your vision, right? Going back to your vision in terms of, that Charlotte vision. It's very massive. Well, to me, I'm looking at, which essentially is that's the main point, right? Your Mount Everest has to be so massive that it's scary to even climb it, but that is your purpose.
100%.
So, question for you is, what inspired this vision? Like, why? Obviously, you have a purpose, and why is this the particular purpose?
Yeah. So for me, that's a great question. I'm glad, again, it's interesting, right? Everyone has an Everest, but we very rarely talk about the why. And I think the why is the most important part, because that's what gets us up every morning. So I grew up in a military family. I've only ever known government, ever. So it wasn't until I moved to Charlotte 2 years ago that I really understood what it meant to own a business. Because I just was like, oh, that's not for me. That's not what my family does. And so the thing that really inspires me and helps me get motivated to do this is honestly knowing how few people serve and knowing how hard it was for me even to navigate my own VA disability, how hard it was for me to navigate, unlike this community where it's full of go-givers. I know veterans want to help, but a lot of times we're stuck in our own thing, and it's hard for us to pull other people up. And veterans overwhelmingly don't want to come and say to people, I need help. And so for me to be able to provide a space where for some of the most, how do I say this? Some of the most people who are just in need, they need a place to stay, and they served our country. I'm I want to be the person in Charlotte that's been able to navigate working with nonprofits, working with local governments, so that they understand that, because we want to do this through co-living, that co-living isn't just sharing a shack, right? We are doing this in a way that maintains dignity for those who put on the uniform. That is so incredibly powerful to me. And I think a lot of people want to help my population, and they just don't know how. So by me knowing the local area, knowing those nonprofits, knowing those people in government, knowing veteran benefits, knowing how, even just being able to teach a veteran, how to start an LLC. So that way, over time, they don't get stuck into a W-2 trap, that they can actually even, buy their own business and start that way. So I want to provide hope, I think is the biggest thing, is once you've become unhoused or homeless or whatever term we're using now, it's pretty hard to get your dignity back and to get that hope back. And so I'm sorry, I know that's a very long way of saying why that's important to me, but I care so deeply about this population.
No, that's amazing. It's actually very helpful for, especially for people like me who aren't in the military. Obviously, I have family members who are or were in the military, but kind of giving us a little bit more more clarity and in terms of what veterans are going through, and because we do want to help out, but then we don't know how to help out. So thank you so much for that. Now, what do you think, or what's been your biggest breakthrough in getting like city leaders? Can't talk today.
Okay, it happens to the best of us.
But the biggest breakthrough in getting city leaders, investors, and nonprofits to align around your goal.
Yeah. So I think candidly, the biggest breakthrough is they already knew who I was. I think a lot of investors, what's hard for us is, although oddly enough, that's also been a challenge with it because people want to box you into what they know. But the fact that I knew the right person to call, right? Like I know who in Charlotte handles HUD-VASH. So that person is definitely on my calendar to be annoyance into compliance until I get what I need because I know it's the right thing. So knowing the right people has been incredibly helpful. Candidly, working at a nonprofit was really helpful for that too, just because I got to, as a network director here, learn all of the resources that are available and learn where the gaps are. Not just in Charlotte, because I was working with nonprofits all across I-85. We actually have a cohort called Mission 85, where from Virginia to Georgia, we meet in Charlotte or usually Columbia twice a year to go over gaps in our coverage as a region. So when I tell you, like, this is a space I'm very embedded in, I'm very embedded, and that's been helpful.
That's awesome. So it kind of reminds me of like, it's not, what was that book? It's the who, not that what or how. I don't remember, but yeah.
It's back to it's who you know.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you're a vet, so I'm assuming that you've leveraged VA loans and even use it creatively.
Yeah, so that's actually been a really fun part of my active income. I teamed up with Mike Jackson, which for those folks who don't know, Mike Jackson wrote the low equity semester in Sub 2. So if you do anything with Sub 2 and don't know who Mike Jackson is, stop watching this in the future and go watch that series. But Mike and I are starting our own like closers type cafe, but only calling agents with VA loans and low equity. Because I have bought and sold homes, I actually created a free ebook not too long ago on VA loans in Subject 2 for agents. So I come at agents much differently because I tend to look in places that I know have heavy concentrations of younger soldiers that are going to be in low equity positions to help them basically from cutting a check to the bank. But I lead with educating. So many of these agents are getting blasted by LOI, the elephant challenge, no one left behind. Like they're great because we all need to take action, but like they're over it. And so most people, when they hear the agents know, they can say, oh, it's the VA loan. They can't do that. And I'm like, oh boy, howdy. Like this is where I shine. So basically what I do is I work with agents to educate them. In fact, I'll be at the Fayetteville, North Carolina, which is the town next to Fort Bragg, the largest military installation by population in the US in July for their RIA event. So I go, yeah, it's a cool stage to be on, I'm not gonna lie. So I go and I often just lead with educating. I'm like, don't tell me an address. Like, just know that this can be a lifeline for this type of person. So a lot of times what's starting to happen is new students will slide into my DMs because they're like, I'm on with an agent and I don't know what to do. It's a VA loan. And so I'll help them get unstuck. And if they're at a point where they need help dispoing, Mike and I can help with that too. But I make the students stay on the phone with me because I'm like, just because I'm a veteran doesn't mean you can't learn this. So I want to take this as an opportunity to train you. Feel free to say, I have a partner who's a veteran, like so that you can ride no differently than we ride off of PACE's authority, right? Like ride through my authenticity and credibility and see how far you can get.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, let's talk about objections, right? How does your own military background help you overcome objections when using VA loans creatively?
Yeah, no, I love that question. So again, because most agents aren't service members, although sometimes I do run into them. By the way, the first thing I ask them is if they have their VA disability and they're registered for VA healthcare. And if their answer is no, before we even talk about anything, I will help them get to what they need to have to get those entitlements. I've actually done that with other Sub 2 students as well. But I think most people, like I'm one of those people as an agent, you're either for me or you're not. Like I'm a very polarizing person. And so my being a veteran helps with the objections because it's pretty hard to fight with someone that's like, no, I've literally done this with my own VA loan. Like no, it's not illegal. It's a breach of contract. Let me explain this to you. Like, and it allows me, again, like just being a veteran, to have that connection. And honestly, because Sub 2 seems so sketchy to most agents, it's great because they're more inclined. I've been on the phone with veterans on Memorial Day. I was on the phone with a veteran and an agent when I was in Disney World with my family last week, because I'm like, no, this is such a haloed population. And it's such a weird concept for people to wrap their heads around that I don't mind having 20 conversations on a Sunday to make sure you understand how we're going to protect you as we acquire this property. You're going to be a part of vetting the buyer, because we're veterans, and like that's how I take care of you. That trust is huge with both agents and particularly with sellers.
Yeah. That's awesome. Now, I love that you mentioned collaboration and not competition, right? Question for you then, like you're collaborating with Mike Jackson. You mentioned that earlier. Now, how have you built strong alliances with people like him?
Oh my gosh. So part of it is when I first came to Sub 2, I was in a coaching session with Justin Tumanowski. And I told Justin Tumanowski, I want to be the Post Malone of Owners Club. And he was like, I don't know what that means. And I'm like, it means, can you name me one song that Post Malone did that's any good by himself? No. But boy, howdy, can you name me Post Malone songs where he's collaborated with Chris Stapleton, Tim McGraw? Like he's in country, he's in pop, he's with Taylor Swift. Like, I want to be that guy. So I made it a mission to just be like, I'm going to go find people who are not going to do real estate, people who are doing real estate ethically, and I'm going to figure out how to do deals with them. And so that's what I did. Mike, I went on a couple of his like podcasts where you call agents, and he, by the second one, was like, I would literally have you close every single one of my deals. Like, do you want to work with me? And of course I did. So that's how that started. I think Tuesday of this week, Mike and I were on Tumanowski's Tuesdays with Tumanowski talking about direct to agent and bird dogging. Like, I just make myself available to people because I know I have a lot to give and I know where my heart is. And I want to make sure that like I'm sharing that with people, because even if I don't get anything out of it, it's just the right thing to do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's also what Adam Colburn mentioned before. Like a lot of people right now, I would say, have this mindset that, you know, I'm new to this game and I don't want to reach out to someone who's up there because what am I to give them, right? And Adam mentioned that, you know, these high performers, this high performing operators, they have so much to do and they don't have time. And new people, what do they have a lot of? Time. So obviously just get out of the mindset that you can't provide anything to these high operating or high level operators. Just offer your time, because they are more than happy to, you know, take your time in exchange for, you know, mentorship. So yeah, that's cool.
No, I love it. And that's why I don't care if you're, you know, Justin or Mike or, you know, one of these guys who's written a curriculum, or like you're brand new. Everybody has a skill. Everybody. And when I worked in staffing, I used to tell companies, because veteran resumes don't make sense. Like people are like, I don't know what a fire controlman is. That sounds like a firefighter. I'm like, no, it's an electromechanical, like whiz bang. That guy's awesome. But people would be like, it just doesn't make sense. And they hit the easy button. And I'm like, if you are going to say that you support veterans and like you're going to thank someone for their service and shake their hand in the airport, you need to be able to give them 15 minutes of your time. Like shaking my hand in the airport is for you. It's not for me. So what would really help people is to give them your time. And I apply the same principle in this, where I talked to a woman the other day who's like 78 years old. She's bird dogging for me now. I had to teach her how to get out of the preview mode on Google, but like, it didn't matter. Once I showed her what I needed, she was like, I'm going to bird dog for you and Mike. So I'm like, that 15 minutes might have made me a sale. If at anything, it taught her how to do something new. Like that's a win for everybody.
No, absolutely. Now, speaking about that, you mentioned, you know, people helping people, right? You've talked about how you've helped people. How about what are you looking for help? Is there anything that you need help with?
I always need leads and I always need capital. So at this point, it's just imagination that's like kind of holding me back. But yeah, no, my buy box is currently being created by someone at Fiverr, because I realized when I saw Justin's, I'm like, if you saw mine and Justin's next to each other, I would pick Justin's because it looks better. So rather than try to teach myself for like 8 hours how to make a cool looking buy box in Canvas or Canva, I decided to just pay someone. So once I have that out, I will definitely get it out to folks to help bird dog for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And once you have that out, send it over so we can have it in the show notes.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. So because we don't have that buy box just yet, what kind of deals are you currently looking for?
Yep. So I am always looking to buy creative in Charlotte so that I can make it into co-living, as well as in any major military town. So think Fayetteville, North Carolina, think Southern Pines, North Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina, Killeen, Texas, and Colorado Springs.
Gotcha. Now, if someone's sitting on a deal that fits your buy box, and they've got, if it's your buy box, how can they reach out to you?
Yep. So I would tell people right now, as we're getting more systems in place with me and Mike, that the best thing to do is get a hold of me on Instagram, and I can leave the handle for there, but it's the Rachel Davis Real Estate.
All right. So everyone has heard that. Real Rachel Davis Real Estate, all one word on Instagram. And true to Your Money, Your Rules fashion, we do give the audience a homework every time at the end of our episode. And for the people listening to this episode, your homework this week is look at one deal you've passed up recently because it had too little equity, and ask yourself, was it really dead, or did I just not have the right lens yet? Then go follow Rachel and send her a message. Ask her what she sees that you might have missed, right? And it might be a deal that she's willing to work with you on. And if you've been listening and thinking, I do want to invest with impact, I want to grow my money in 2 places at once, but I don't know where to start, then you need to check out Thrive Banking, which is our strategy to help real estate investors and lenders protect, grow, and multiply their capital while funding deals that actually change lives. You can watch our next free webinar at thrivebankingstrategy.com and learn how to join our mission to help 5,000 overlooked families become real estate investors by 2030. Rachel, thank you so much for sharing your heart, your grit, and your strategy, and making this such a you made me laugh so much in this episode. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Teresa, for having me. This has been awesome. And I'm really, really, really looking forward to meeting you in Monterey. And gosh, it's less than a week now, isn't it, at this point? Or I guess we leave in like a week. So
yeah,
awesome.
2 weeks. Now, to everyone listening, your money should serve people, not the other way around. Let it fund freedom. Let it fuel your purpose. Let it build your legacy. And until next time, this is Your Money, Your Rules.